Hi, I'm Betsy Barbieux, and this is CAM Matters. Come join us today for the first show of 2022 as we take a look back at 2021 and some of the exciting shows that we had last year. Don't miss out and come join us.
Welcome to CAM Matters, Condos, Co-ops, HOAs, and beyond. Betsy Barbieux is an informational leader in Florida on community association living, rights, and obligations. She is an expert on the rights and obligations of owners as well as the association. If you live or are planning to live in the state of Florida, there's a good chance you'll be part of a community association. And by the end of this show, you'll know a little bit more about community associations and why they matter.
Well, we're so glad that you're here. Welcome to the show. I'm Suzanne Lynn with Betsy Barbieux, and it is the first show of the new season. So we
2022.
It's unbelievable. Betsy, we were just kind of thinking that it'd be fun to recap some of the shows from 2021 and look back before we start looking forward. What do you think about that?
We can. What a year.
It was crazy. We're going to be getting to some things that could really take up a whole entire show. We're going to try to
do them again.
Yeah, just do them again. Well, let's talk about some of the questions that came in. It reminds me about, there's a lot of questions about co-ops and about email voting and contracts and things like that. And those are all often repeated questions.
In fact, those kinds of questions I get almost on a weekly basis. So write your questions to me, and they may show up on a show. But yes, I love questions, and even one of the things that we highlighted, I think, in that show was co-ops. There is very little mention in any of the writings from people around the state of Florida about co-op law. And there are...
It's so confusing.
But there are probably 800 or 900 co-ops in the state of Florida.
Okay.
And they do exist. I have had some people say, oh, there aren't any in Florida. Oh, yes, there are. There are plenty. Yeah. And they seem to all know me. Because I get a lot of questions from my co-op people. But yes, they do exist. You do have your own statutes. It's Chapter 719. And your laws are very, very similar to the condominium laws, but there are a few differences. But yeah, we've talked about, always have questions about email and voting, quorums and meetings, cable contracts, and the plug there is be sure to hire a cable contract negotiator. They can get you more money.
It seems like a lot of times...
You can actually make money on cable contracts.
Oh, wait, I like the way that sounds.
Yeah, it's kind of opposite of what you think. You can actually make money, but not if you don't know the pots of money to ask for.
Well, and that's what I was going to say. A lot of times the answer is hire a professional.
Yeah, and
don't assume
that's
that
the
you
answer
know.
there.
Yeah,
is hire a professional. Websites are now required for condominium associations with 150 units or more.
Okay.
So those were the kinds of questions that we had, and had questions. It's just Monday so far, and I've had several questions already today that I answered by email that had to do with minutes, which was one of our shows.
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
I was able to refer her to the show on minutes.
Isn't that nice?
Which is really nice.
Yeah. So one of the shows that we did was talking about banking solutions for your community association, and I remember how much I learned in that one. That just blew me away. I mean, things that you don't know, and how much opportunity you're missing if you don't go to a bank that specializes.
Yes. That was Michelle Rinaldi from OZK Bank who came and talked with us that day. She's really, really good. There are banks like OZK, Truist, and if I try to start naming them, I'll leave somebody else. So I think I'll stop there. But that offer association services, which means they cater to us, to community associations, and they have banking experts who understand that at the end of each annual meeting, you can't very easily haul in all of you new board members to all sign new signature cards.
Right.
It just doesn't work for us to do that. Right. So association services banking, they are able to let us do signatures electronically and get those changed in a better way. They offer the coupon payment processing, the lockbox. And the good thing about those systems is that most of them interface with your accounting system. So as owners make payments to the bank, the codes at the bank are the same as the codes in your accounting system back at the office. And so it just automatically gets posted. I mean, well, there are a couple of things you have to click and download, but they get posted. So we have gone to that system for our associations at my office. We're handling way too many checks, just physically handling checks. And this way we don't have to handle all of those checks and have them going through the office.
What I remember thinking is, why wouldn't you deal with someone who's already set up for a system to work with communities? I mean, they've already got everything in place. You know, it just makes so much sense. I didn't know that there were banks that actually
cater
specialize
to
in that.
us.
Yeah.
And the other good thing about some of the banks that cater to us, they are also part of a CDARS program, C-DARS. And there's another one that Michelle talked about that I don't remember the name of. But the programs then allow your bank, one bank, to take all of your reserve money. So if you have more than $250,000 of reserves, which is the FDIC protection limit, instead of spreading all of your money into 15 different banks around town at $250,000 increments, you can put all of your money in one of their programs and keep all your money in one place.
Again, they've got the system in place.
It's an intra-bank system, I think, that moves money around so that it's still protected with the FDIC, but you only have to deal with one banker.
One banker.
And you don't have to have a spreadsheet full of CDs and expiration dates. And
you had me at no spreadsheet.
And interest in, you don't have to have all of that.
That's nice. They handle so much of it for you. All right, Betsy. We spent 2 shows on the Surfside condo collapse.
We did.
That was a horrible time. And there are so many questions. And now that we're, several months past that, one of the things we want to kind of talk about is, first of all, with the shows itself, that we had some great knowledge. We had a guest that was on. Can we talk about the gentleman?
We had Charles.
Who
is a insurance construction
to talk about
specialist.
Possible things that you might not know about, possible flaws that, his technology and technology with companies.
No, that was Mark. That was Mark Kramer.
Right, and he could see.
Yes, the engineer.
Yes, and see things that could potentially go wrong.
Yes, the
ahead of time.
Infrared.
Yeah,
they can do the infrared inspections, and they can do the pre-storm or pre-whatever, and then post.
Yes.
And that way they can see the moisture and the water intrusion and things. That was Mark
fascinating.
Kramer.
And then now let's kind of touch a little bit, because I know, our son owns a condo here in Florida, and he's complaining about insurance rates. What, if being a few months down the road from this, what's happening with insurance because of this?
Good luck.
Yeah.
What's happening, at least for us right now, and I cannot speak yet to the legislation that's coming through. It's only January.
Right.
And the bills are still all being crafted and pushed through committees and things. So I can't speak to anything about any legislation at this point, but we are at our office beginning to renew insurance for property insurance. And our agents are diligently shopping carriers, which is just not going to go well. The carriers are fewer, and they seem to be focusing on roofs that are more than 10 years old. They want them replaced within 30 days if they're going to renew your insurance. Now, you tell me how you get a roof replaced in 30 days. Right? So I'm hearing more about this 10-year limit on roofs, even though some of my roofs, the inspections show that the underlayment is good for probably another 20, and the tile on top is good for probably another 30.
Why are they doing that?
Apparently that is their biggest loss.
Dollar-wise,
is roofs.
Okay.
And if you think about it, in a storm, that's what gets hit first, is the roof. The other thing that I'm hearing is that if you don't replace your roof, then they're going to insure it for actual value. which is your depreciated value.
And a roof is expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, that could, yeah.
Now, what's interesting there, and I might have already mentioned this before, but the documents and the statutes require for condominiums and co-ops that roofs be required for replacement cost
Okay.
of what it costs to replace it,
Okay.
which is more than actual value.
Okay.
So if insurance companies are saying, well, we don't care what the statute says, we don't care what your documents say, we're only going to replace it, we're going to only insure it for actual value, which is your depreciated value, which for some they're going to say is zero, basically
Wow.
zero. But the documents in the statute require replacement cost coverage. So somebody's got to work out the law there.
Right, right. There's
Because
a big
if
discrepancy.
insurance companies saying we're not going to do it, statute says you got to do it. That's somebody bigger than me who has to work that out.
Right, right, right. So we'll see on the other side of the legislative session what happens and comes through.
I'm hearing rumblings, and I think Mark even mentioned it, about 40-year inspections being required. They're already required in Miami-Dade and Broward counties, I believe, and maybe Palm Beach. They're already required in that part of the state. Mark, as I recall, didn't seem to think that it would, if it was required, it wouldn't come much further north than I-4 as far as the requirements go.
We just want everybody safe, whatever it takes.
We want them safe, but Florida is sand. And the closer you get to the water and build on sand, shifting sand.
Yeah. It's a balance of being safe, being affordable. All right, well, why don't we take a break here? We'll be right back, and we'll come back on the other side, recapping kind of what we did in 2021 with the shows, things that you might want to go back to and look at specifically. We'll be right back.
Are you ready for a new career? Do you have skills or interest in management, real estate, construction, maintenance, accounting, strategic planning, project management, budgets, human resource management, lawn and landscaping, pool services, or any other expertise needed to operate a community association? If you do, community association management could be for you. For more information, feel free to email Betsy at betsy@floridacamschools.com or visit the Florida Cam Schools website at www.floridacamschools.com. Florida Community Association Management continues to grow. Career opportunities abound.
And welcome back to the show. We're glad that you're here. We're recapping the shows from 2021 now that we've started 2022. I'm glad that we're not getting any older. Just the shows are. That's good.
No.
So as we look back to the 2021 shows, opportunities with a community association management came up. What the opportunities are and your role as a manager. We could spend a lot of time talking about this.
There's so many variables there, but let me say that there's a shortage of community managers right now, and there are
First
a lot
of all,
of
why
jobs.
is that?
Well, overall, there are a lot of people who are not working.
Right.
But I don't think that's CAMs.
Okay.
I don't think that's CAMs. It seems to be more in the services industries where people are not working. But the builders are building. We have a building boom here in Florida, and there's hardly any place you can drive that there isn't a patch of land that's being cleared off and homes being built or condominiums being built. So we have a building boom going on. We have a lot of people in the last year have moved to Florida for lots of reasons.
We'll talk about when the camera's off, right?
We won't talk about those right now, but we have a lot of people who've moved to Florida. And so our population is increasing exponentially. The managers' jobs vary from community to community. There's not really, I guess there is a standard. Most managers deal with elections. Most managers deal with meetings. Most managers then prepare the meeting notices and minutes. There are the year-end things to do, all of those tasks, the year-end financials, the 1099s, the tax returns, getting the financials out and available to the owners, updating your corporate annual report. There are all of those end-of-the-year kinds of things that managers do.
Besides that, it's hardly a nothing-to-do job, right?
There's nothing
right.
to do. And the 50 phone calls and 100 emails a day that you probably get.
So you have to be organized.
You have to be very detailed, task-oriented.
Okay.
Yes, it's a people-oriented position, and you have to have some degree of congeniality, but you live by the calendar. You live by the calendar. And if you are a portfolio manager, which means you manage more than one community at a time, then the calendar is really important. You can't just flip the page to see what you have to do the next day, because you probably should have started preparing for the next day 10 days ago.
Okay.
And so you live by the calendar, however you calendar your things. A lot of managers also handle the financials.
Okay.
They pay the bills, they do the banking, they take in the checks, make the deposits.
But it can make a great career.
It's a wonderful career.
And
it's recession-proof.
I was just going to say.
It's recession-proof. Communities are not exempt from recessions. As owners go through hard times during recessions, then delinquencies occur and foreclosures and bankruptcies and all those kinds of things happen. But a community still needs professional management. So back in the Great Recession, we didn't lose jobs. Now what I found, which was interesting, is that the Great Recession created an opportunity for smaller management companies to open up, and they undercut the contract prices of the bigger management companies, and so they were picking off some of the communities from the bigger management companies, but then they were
Competition's good, right?
It is,
Yeah.
but what happened was a lot of the communities went back to their former management companies because the little ones were not set up with the systems, the detail-oriented systems and the electronic systems that you need, the banking systems that you need, the support staff that you need.
So what does it take to be a community manager? Do you have to have your real estate license? What kind of
No,
licensing?
it's not
what kind of classes do you have to?
It's not related to real estate. It's licensed and governed by the same department, State Department, Department of Business and Professional Regulation. It's the same department as realtors, but it's not related to real estate agents or brokers. It's a different license. It's a separate license. It's called a CAM, Community Association Manager License. You go through a pre-licensing prep class, which I do offer. It's a 16-hour class. It prepares you for the state exam. You will not know anything about managing after taking that class.
It's just to get you through the test.
It prepares you for the test, and then there's the state exam. Preceding that, you will have been fingerprinted, passed a background check, and completed an application with the Department of Business and Professional Regulation. And so you will have done all of those things. And then you'll be required each 2 years to renew that license and to complete continuing ed. It is never ending with the learning. Never.
So in
never
that way,
ending.
I do see some similarities with realtors. So if you're a realtor, it sounds like it would be a natural fit. If maybe you're like, I'm not making money as a realtor.
It could be, and we saw that a lot in the Great Recession.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of realtors come over to the CAM side
I
and
could see that.
get their license because they recognized that was a paycheck, a regular paycheck.
Right. You're not. It's not based on sales.
No.
Yeah, and then
No.
you would be able to send them leads and give them opportunities to be able to get into a community where it's a weekly or monthly paycheck.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lots more to say about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity.
How can people get a hold of you for that? I mean, because that's
Betsy
really important.
at floridacamschools.com.
Okay. All right, let's move into the show that we talked about, fires and floods, dealing with losses from fires and floods.
Yeah, that was the one where I had Charles come and talk with us because I went through my first fire. And
With a community.
With a community.
Yeah.
And one building, 4 units, had fire damage. Well, 2 units really bad, the other 2 units not so bad. But learning all of the processes and steps to go through there, and that then I will tag back to another show. When you have any kind of loss, whether it's a flood or a fire, any kind of loss, call your public adjuster first. And we had Tara Stone from Stone Claims Group on our show, and she suggests that you call her or someone like her before you call your agent, and she can tell you whether to file the claim or not. Because there might be a type of claim that's just not quite big enough that you think you ought to file a claim, but you don't really want to because then you might get canceled.
Right, sure.
And so there's the, should we file a claim, should we not file a claim, do we have money to pay for it, do we have other ways to pay for it? But that is the first call that seems to need to be made after you call the fire department or the police department or whoever else you're going to call for that. After you make those emergency calls, but before you start any paperwork or any claims, the better choice is to call a public adjuster.
You know, Betsy, it keeps coming back. I'm seeing a pattern of these shows educating about professionals that you might not know exist in this CAM world. You might just think, oh, there's a lawyer. There are CAM lawyers. You know, banks. There are CAM banks.
Insurance
surveyors,
agents.
insurance. I mean, this is really important. We're not saying that the other ones can't help and that they're not good, but they're set up for the system. And all the shows that I'm hearing us talk about is call the professional, because it could mean, in some cases, millions of dollars for your association.
Yes, and in this one particular fire loss, we're getting a lot more than what our carrier was going to pay. Our carrier that we paid the insurance premium for.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, we're getting more.
Wow.
Which is good.
Yeah,
and we're
because
now,
there's a professional.
Let's see,
right.
we're 6 or 7 months out from that fire, and we're not moved back in yet.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Betsy, we got to wrap up, but I mean, we had some amazing shows, and we want you to share this information. If you're part of a community, if you're interested in being a community association manager, let us know. Share the information and like and subscribe so that you get a notification when a new show is drops, as they say in the business.
And they come out every month.
Yeah.
So you don't want to miss one.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to CAM Matters. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. For more information, feel free to email Betsy at betsy@floridacamschools.com or visit the Florida Cam Schools website at www.floridacamschools.com. Information provided on this show is general in nature and does not constitute legal advice. Please contact a licensed attorney for your specific situation.